Alright, in this video I intend to explain how sinkholes on the earth, and they're everywhere on the earth, if you look it up, they're just happening everywhere and they're enormous. And these sinkholes are related to sprites that are showing up in the atmosphere, and I have a video and I'll show you that on this. And they're also linked to beams of light, and I will show you what I'm talking about there, that are shooting up from the earth. These things are very phenomenal things that are just being seen. I also believe they're related to atomic shock blasts that are coming up from the earth causing these sprites, and they cause fiery sinkhole collapses. And I believe they're also the source, not necessarily the source, but they were a contributing factor in the China factory blasts. And I have video to explain all of those things here, and I will show it to you in a second. But to begin with, I noticed this video about a very, very bizarre event. And this was in Snowflake, Arizona. It happened just about on September 15th, 2015. Now, watch what's going on here. You see this very, very intense light here? I'm saying from Earth there's a sinkhole that has collapsed. And when it collapses, there's something that's called atomic shock. And that happens in hydrogen and methanes. And that's exactly what is collecting in these gigantic voids underneath these sinkholes. They don't just something erodes a little bit here, a little bit there. No, when these sinkholes collapse, they collapse and they create these atomic photon pulses. And I have evidence to support this. Now, this is the kind of intense atomic glow that you see when you see these shock hydrogen and methane blasts. And they are focused because they're in these sinkhole tubes. And these sinkhole tubes are literally tubes. You see that? When the surface, this should be filled up with stuff that's floating inside the earth, biodigestible stuff that's really, but we've taken so much out of the earth that everything's collapsed way down there. So you end up with these huge voids from here down, from let's say 20 feet under, and eventually that plug lets go and goes. And when it does, it compresses hydrogen with something that is atomic. And what it is this right here. Where's my atomic stuff here? All right, this is all about electron transitions in hydrogen, but oh boy, here it is. Here we go. This is the spontaneous ignition of pressurized releases of hydrogen and natural gas into air. Exactly what we're talking about. Now, this was written by Princeton. Well, it's Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering, Princeton University. Now, this was written for the compressed air industry, and they have these what they call shock explosions, where you take like a ball peen hammer almost and you hit one of these tanks of compressed hydrogen, and it creates a shock event, and they just explode, and releases of hydrogen gas into the air cause spontaneous combustion. Spontaneous ignition of pressurized releases of hydrogen natural gas into air. It's exactly what we're talking about. Exactly what we're talking about. However, in addition to what they're talking about, you have atomic shock. Now, when I say atomic shock, hydrogen has one electron floating around its proton. And when you shock that electron, and under compressed forces, where everything's so compressed, and think of the surface of the earth collapsing on a tank of hydrogen, which is literally is a tank of hydrogen underneath that collapse, and it's compressing it to an incredible amount, and then you get into these molecular tiny atomic forces. You know, there's all kinds of names for them, Van der Waals and all kinds of things. But to take away from this is there's such an enormous release of energy, and then it propagates on itself. It just keeps building. Now, this is unbelievable. Well, let me just read you something here. It says, the paper demonstrates this spontaneous ignition. That means auto-ignition, inflammation, and sustained diffusive combustion from sudden compressed hydrogen releases that is not well documented in the present literature, for which little fundamental explanation, discussion, or research foundation exists. Nobody's looking at this, is basically what they're saying. Now, and which is apparently not encompassed in recent formulations of safety codes and standards and piping and all this business. They're bringing this up as a safety issue of compressed gases. I'm bringing it up as a natural atomic force event under sinkhole collapses. And it goes on and on here about accidental, intended, rapid failure of a pressurized boundary separating sufficiently compressed hydrogen, which is what we're talking about, from air, which is what we're talking about, can result in multi-dimensional transient flows involving shock formation, reflection, and interactions such as that reactant mixtures are rapidly formed and achieve chemical ignition, inflammation, and transitions to turbulent jet diffusive combustions. It's all here. Now, if you got enough time and you want to read this, which I did, it's excellent. But if you get down to the bottom down here, here we go. The conclusionary is what it says, and it says, you know, I'm just going to read it again. Transient shock processes associated with ratchet pressure boundary failure have the capacity to produce spontaneous ignitions, yada, 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 yada. I told you the whole thing already. But the repeatable nature of the ignition and its characteristics timescale suggest that proposed ignition alternatives, electrostatic discharge and such, they are not contributory to the present observations. In other words, what I am saying is exactly what is expected, it's exactly what's seen, and it's exactly what's happening. Now, if we go away from here and we go to sprites, now look at this. Watch what happens when this, just keep your eye on this and I'll explain. All right. See this down here? Underneath the clouds. See way down underneath the clouds? They don't even know this. They think it's starting up here and coming up. Look at what's happening up there. Whatever is in this atmosphere, and this is in the ionosphere, way, way, way out there. Now, what they're seeing is a blast coming from, look at them. Now, I'm saying these are all sinkholes, and this is a whole batch of sinkholes collapsing at once, or maybe one or two. But you're going to see other ones in here that, look at this. And that's in outer space, happening all over the place. See, each one of those, I believe, is a sinkhole. And I will show you why I believe that in a minute. But when it comes out here, they're watching this and they don't understand it. Now, if you come out to here, they're showing what they see. Here, let me get back. They understand it's coming up here, but they think it's starting from the clouds. It's starting from Earth. It's starting way down here. And then it comes up through and goes up through as a photon pulse. Extremely high energy. And then they're hitting the upper atmosphere. Now watch this. This is the smoking gun. They're taking a triangulated three position of coming up here, coming up here, coming down here, all kind of cameras. Now, see this? And that's what they saw. But watch down there. Watch where my finger is. And I'm going to try to stop this. As it comes up, see, there it goes. Boom. Boom. It's coming from the Earth through the clouds up, and each one of those is a biodigester. That's what I'm saying. Now, if we go to this is the mystery holes in the Pacific. It's a mystery red glow in the Pacific. Baffles pilots. Couldn't figure it out. Now watch what happens. They're seeing these, those are all biodigesters collapsing and burning through the spontaneous combustion of it under water. Now watch this. Poof! They see this huge blast of light. And then as they come up on it, they start to see this. And these are the biodigesters that are collapsing on themselves. So that's what I'm saying there. Now, this is about, this is about the methane releases and all the things. It's terrible. Methane releases and so forth. Anyway,